Greatest day in history. Death is beaten, you have rescued.
Hello, my name is Matthew Nelson. Over the next few moments, I'd like to share with you a little bit about myself, but mostly, I want to spend most of my time talking about God and my relationship with Jesus. I was born and raised, for the most part, in Texas. Grew up in a Christian home. And there really never was a time that I can remember not attending a church. I am grateful for my mom and dad, for my parents, their godly influence and the godly heritage of a family devoted and living for Christ. It was my mom who led me to Christ at the early age of 7, and by age 13, I was committed to knowing Jesus and felt a calling on my life to serving God with all my heart, soul, and strength. In 1990, I married my best friend, a girl who shared a passion for living for God, and we together have maintained a strong desire to give our lives to things of eternal consequence. We have spent more than 30 years building a Christ-centered marriage and God-honoring family. And we've raised 2 boys who are following Christ and living out their faith and serving God in their lives, relationships, and their own growing families.
Jesus, when I met you.
Even as a teenager, I was keenly aware of the work Christ accomplished at the cross. Scripture says we were once dead in our transgressions and sins, and by nature deserving of wrath. But because of His great love for us, God, who is rich in mercy, made us alive with Christ, even when we were dead in our trespasses. It is by sheer grace that a way has been provided through Jesus to both salvation and a restored fellowship with the Father.
Good morning, church at the Fields. Come on, won't y'all stand up? Y'all join us as we say these words together. I needed rescue, my sin was dead.
He called my name, and I came out of that grave. Think of it. All sins forgiven, the slate wiped clean, that old arrest warrant canceled and nailed to Christ's cross. And having disarmed the powers and authorities, He made a public spectacle of them, triumphing over them by the cross. I am forever celebrating God and bound to telling the world of His good works and of His great love. And I have dedicated more than 40 years, both in vocational ministry as well as in my everyday, ordinary life, the sleeping, eating, going to work, and walking around life, placing my everything before God as a sacrifice, as a sacrificial offering, loving God and loving others.
Searching comes the look itself, a trace of what we're looking for. So be quiet now and wait. Your shine is growing, the tide is coming in. Here it is. Here is our King.
You know, it's hard to keep quiet when you meet Jesus and experience life abundant, free from the yoke and bonds of sin. When you discover that you are no longer a slave, but God's child. And Scripture says, if a son, then an heir through God. You cannot help but want to share this good news with everyone, to fully embrace and give your life to the mission of seeing lives transformed through the work of the Spirit into fully developing followers of Christ. has called us to a radical life change. He has set a day when the entire human race will be judged and everything will be set right. And I, like David in Psalm 51, understand the debt, my debt, that Christ canceled at the cross. I was once a rebel, lost, isolated, and in chains to the bondage of sin. But through Jesus, I am forgiven, redeemed, and restored to righteousness, Christ's righteousness. My sin has been erased. The old me crucified, dead, and buried. The new me is Christ's resurrection life.
Let the chains fall. Let the chains fall. Let the chains fall. Let the chains fall. If you're lost and wandering, come stumbling in like a prodigal. See the world start crumbling. Jesus is the gate. His arms are open wide.
So it is my joy to sing of this great story, to share this message and tell the world of God's great loving kindness and of Jesus, his son. I consider it a privilege and a blessing to spend all of my days, like David said, teaching rebels of his ways so the lost can find their way home. Lord, I'll forever sing anthems to your life-giving ways. Unbutton my lips, dear God, and I'll let loose with your praise forevermore.
His arms are open wide.